Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of reviewing vintage video games. Today we're going to talk about another video game based on another movie, just like we did in the last episode. This movie is really famous. Scarface is a movie that many people have watched, and this video game by the name of Scarface The World Is Yours is based on that video game. If you haven't watched the movie yet, well, no worries. No, you should worry, because this video game is a bad spoiler. First, you gotta watch the movie, then you gotta go and play this video game. So, nobody actually plays this video game without watching it, or they maybe lose a lot of content. Actually, the ending of the movie is the start of this video game, and they sort of changed the ending, so you better watch the movie first. Well, not trying to talk about this story much, because the story of this video game is not something uh, that actually can turn ahead. It's nothing that significant. This video game has unique items in gameplay and level design. And this video game also was compared with GTA Vice City most of the time, because they were in the same city. They were both uh, gangster video game like in the 1980s, and related to cocaine and dealing that. Because both of this video game were set in the 1980s, they were both open world, and they were both about dealing drugs. So it's okay to actually compare these video games together, but not so okay in my opinion, because they're totally two different things in terms of level design and gameplay. But the story and the whole concept of these video games are the same. Well, stepping foot in gameplay and trying to reviewing it, gameplay of this video game is rich. Like, more than Tony Montana himself. It's rich, like really rich, and it's one of my favorite gameplays of all time. Starting the topic of gameplay with the shooting mechanism. Well, shooting in this video game is really interesting. I haven't seen such thing in other video games. Other video games, you either lock your enemy and shoot him. Like, the only thing you gotta do is actually press a button, then another button. You're not doing anything interesting. Or it's so hard, they do not lock on your enemies. You have to actually do the whole thing yourself with the analog stick, or with your mouse. So they weren't actually anything different. They were either something with no aim assist, or with actually too much aim assist. Like, they locked on your enemies and all you did was pressing another button and actually dealing with your enemies. This time it's really different. It has an aim assist. Well, it actually locks on your enemy, but not exactly on their head or on their heart. When you lock on the enemy, there is actually an area of the body that actually gets locked in. Then there is a dot, and you have to keep the dot when you actually locked on your enemy. Keep the dot on the place you want to shoot. If you want to shoot them on the foot and actually dismember them, actually shoot them in the foot. Or if you want to actually get a headshot, you actually rotate that actually circle to the head of your enemy. Then you can deal with them even faster. It's more than fun. It's just excellent. The experience of shooting itself is enough for a really entertaining video game. Well, with shooting itself, you actually can get really entertained. You just move like Tony Montana, the way he moves, then lock on your enemy, actually be creative and try to do different things, dismember them, or actually get a headshot. and use different things, and you can actually taunt your enemies or curse them. This way you can refill your rage ability. With the rage ability, you will be the Tony Montana himself, holding an M16 with one hand and dealing with your enemies. The sound of the M16, which is so loud, gives you the experience, the whole thing. You get really excited with the sound, with actually all the effects, with the mechanism, with shooting your enemies, seeing their heads get actually chopped off. This whole thing is really breathtaking. So shooting is enough for actually a video game. Even if the video game wasn't open world, the shooting itself would enough to be actually better than most of the video games of its own time. And this mechanism of shooting is my favorite, my personal favorite. Now you know what my personal favorite is. Being an open world compared with GTA Vice City all the time, well, technically it has driving. Well, you're not surprised, are you? Driving in this video game was ahead of its time. Like, there are many other video games with driving, but none of them were as good as this one. You can actually feel the suspension of your car. Your car eventually has suspension. Your car actually will actually move up and down, actually going through different services. You can actually shoot your enemies while driving. When you hit other drivers, you can taunt them. You can actually curse them for hitting your car. Well, you were the bad driver. You were the actually bad person. You were the butthole. Not trying to say the curse word, actually causing all the mess inside that street. But you can always curse your NPCs. You hit their car, then you just taunt them. You just curse them. When you hit them on the street, hit a pedestrian, you say, hey, streets is for cars and all that. You can be Tony Montana himself, the tough guy, the success, this whole thing. And driving is not just about stealing other people's car. And it's not a stealing in this video game. You just tell them, hey, get off the car. Because you're Tony Montana, they will just get off the car and give the car to you because you're a drug kingpin. Everybody's scared of you. You're a mobster. You're a big shot. And then you sit on that car, have the best driving experience. If you don't like NPC's cars, well, it's something that usually happens because NPC's cars are really dull and mundane. Well, you can buy your own car. There's an ability you can actually go and buy yourself new cars. With the money you make from drug dealing, you can actually have enough money to buy yourself cars. And you can have your driver to bring the car to you. You can even buy yourself a limo. And you will not be driving the limo. Your driver will take you wherever you want. And like a fast traveling system that is inside this video game, you can actually fast travel to different locations with your limo. In the city of Miami. Well, other cars that you buy, it can be a tank, or it could be some Formula One race car. It could be a really old-fashioned 1940s car, 1930s car. There are lots of options in terms of buying a luxury car for yourself, just driving you around from one place to another. And the driving was one of the best of its own time. One really strong part of this video game, one part of this video game that really is fantastic is the interactions. You can interact for the first time in video game history. Maybe not for the first time, but it was one of the pioneers. For the first time, you can actually interact with all the NPCs. Like literally, you can talk to all of them. You just hit T and you talk to other people. Actually, taunt will actually turn into talk. When you hit T button on your keyboard, you can actually talk with all the NPCs. Talking with different NPCs have actually different dialogues. And unlocking these dialogues will give you the option of charisma. The level will actually go higher and higher. This way, you can actually cut deals in terms of drug dealing way better. This will help your business as well. You can also flirt with some hot chicks out there. Every actually female NPC you can flirt, from an old woman to a young woman. It doesn't matter. Young girl, old woman. You can just choose to actually flirt with them. This is Tony Montana, guys. He is a success. He will do what he wants. And if you're actually charismatic enough, you can get some of them hot chicks to your mansion. And they actually do nothing. They will just stand there with their underwear in the mansion, stairs, nothing like that. You just get to look at them. But it was something creative, guys, wasn't it? Another thing about this video games interactions is actually your friends. Well, you've got a friend who actually sells you weapons. You call him, he will show up wherever you like, and then you can buy weapons. The weapons will be stored in the back of the trunk of your car. This is an insane detail that Scarface the World is Yours actually has paid attention to. You cannot carry all your guns all together. Like every time you die, you may actually lose your guns. This way, your guns are stored in the trunk of your own car, not the NPC's car, the car that you own and your driver will bring you. You can actually go to the back of the trunk of your car and decide whether to use a shotgun as a primary weapon, an M16, or sometimes you want to use a minigun. There are different weapons. I don't know if there was a minigun in there, but come on, guys, there are many weapons. AK-47, M16, lots of weapons, but the variety of the weapons is not that much, I gotta tell you. The variety of the weapons in all other video games of that time uh, were better. In many ways, they were better because they had a bigger variety, a vaster variety of weapons. But the weapons are really good. The sound of each weapon is unique and different. So you can actually interact with your gun runner and have him bring you some guns. You can interact with your driver to actually bring your car to you. You can go to the trunk of your car and pick up the weapons that you desire. At the same time, there are some particular things about interactions of this video game. Well, you've got a friend who actually cuts you deal for drug dealing business. Well, this whole thing is related to interactions with other dealers. First of all, you have to call your friends. Then your friend cuts you a deal. You go to the location and talk to the dealer. The dealer is supposed to bring you the stuff. At this point, you actually have to have good charisma in order to cut the deal in a smooth way. After you cut the deal, you have to deal the whole thing. After you cut the deal, you have to actually carry the stuff to one of your storages, then distribute it. This is something that I will talk about at the end of the video as well, but the interactions you make are fascinating. The interactions with your friends, and there are actually side activities that I'm going to talk about as well. But for now, these are the interactions that you make with your driver, with your gun runner, and with your friend that cuts you the deals. There are interactions with other gangs and with cops. This video game actually is totally a drug dealing simulator. It actually simulates a drug dealing experience. When you're dealing drugs, you actually have to call off the cops. The cops are actually onto you, and you have to have friends in high places, and your friends in high places want money. So you pay them money to lower your cup hit. There's another hit by the name of gang hit. When you are actually making moves, for example, another gang maybe dealing drugs in their turf and all that, they will not tolerate it. They will attack you, and if you keep doing it and killing their gang members, the gang hit goes higher and higher, and this time they will be unstoppable. So you better pay them off. So the money that you make from dealing drugs will be paid to the cops and other gangs in order to lower your gang hits so you can complete your progress of the video game. And one really insane detail about making money out of dealing drugs is that you have to launder your money. You're a success. Well, being a success, as Tony Montana says, you have to launder your money. Everybody doesn't take you for a drug dealer. You're just a businessman, aren't you? So, after making money and doing lots of activities to actually make that money, you have to launder it. You talk to actually the big shot of the story, owner of different banks in different parts of the city, and he says, I will launder your money and I will get a percentage. And if you use a good charisma level, you can actually lower the percentage of that person. If you mess it up, they will take 50%. If you actually do a little bit more smoothly, they will take 30%. If you actually just nail it, they will get only 10%. This way you can actually preserve more money. But why do I have to launder my money? I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't launder your money, means the money is being carried by you. One time, getting killed by a cop or a gang member, you will lose the whole money. Whether if it's $1,000 or $200, whether it's $200 million or I don't know, $50 million. We don't care. You will lose your money if you don't launder it each time you die. So you have to launder your money. This way, your money will be preserved in banks. This thing is not an easy thing to do though, because when your business is actually growing and making a lot of progress, the harder it will get to actually cut the deals and do the drug dealing. This is the time to talk about the activities of this video game. Well, there are some side missions. You can play as other characters as well. You can play as the assassin of Tony Montana, which is a girl. You can play as a female character and assassinate the enemies of Tony Montana. This way you will not actually get gang hit and at the same time will make money. Tony Montana also has a person who goes and scares other people off, like a loan shark or something like that. He just goes there, does the act of shark, threatening other people. You should get your money, you should actually pay for protection, things like that, and robbing other people. There are some activities with that character as well. Or you could be the driver of Tony Montana himself. The driver activities are interesting activities with the fascinating driving mechanism that this video game has. All of these three things are interesting and really entertaining. But the main activity that you do is actually calling your friend and cutting deals related to drug dealing. Well, at first, the deals are really easy. You cut the deal really easy. Even if you mess it up, you can actually survive. There are actually less business rackets. Maybe you've got one or two business rackets to take care of. So the drug is easy to distribute, really easy to do that. But as you open up some other business rackets, like for example, if you have yourself 6 or 7 business rackets, distributing the drug in all the 7 business rackets gets really hard to do. At the same time, when the cocaine that you're dealing, well, this is the video game, the drug that you're dealing is not a low amount of drugs, like for 2 or 3 business rackets, it's for 10 or 11 business rackets. You have to go to the islands to bring the drug back to Miami. So this is not an easy thing to do because first you have to go to the islands, then cut the deal. Then again, buy a boat that they will give you. You don't get to decide which boat it should be. You have to smuggle the drug back to the United States in the city of Miami and then store the drugs. This will actually increase your gang hate and cop hate all at the same time. This is one really hard thing to do, and I was really having a hard time trying to deal with that, especially getting to another island and trying to smuggle it all the way back to Miami. But good thing is that this video game helps you to do all these activities easy. Well, you can buy yourself boats. You can actually buy faster boats to get to the islands faster. Or at the same time, you can buy yourself a plane. With that plane, you can easily go to the islands. Well, you're not driving the plane, but it's like a fast travel to the islands. Easy to do. You've got a mansion and you can customize your mansion. You can actually have the classic looks that it had in the original movie, or you can actually change the decoration. And all the things you do is just for fun. It has nothing to do with the level or anything, but it's a fun and creative thing that they have put inside this video game. You can actually customize your mansion. Well, in terms of gameplay, this video game has done an excellent job. One of my favorites. But when it comes to the storytelling, well, main missions are really boring. All you have to do is just shoot and kill. Nothing else. Shoot, drive, doing all the same again. The whole main missions are really boring. And the storytelling of the video game is not that interesting. Like, they try to make it a little bit longer, but there is not much concept to the story. Maybe that's why the video game didn't actually get such a high Metacritic point. Well, that makes sense because this storytelling is not the type of a storytelling that you can call a masterpiece or even something interesting or entertaining. But, well, actually gives the movie, the original itself, a good ending. Well, the ending that the movie itself had was something. This time we will have a better ending maybe, but it's really boring. The main missions and the story is not something you will follow along. The thing that you will enjoy about this video game is only the level design and the activities that you do as being the Tony Montana himself. Well, taking care of your business rackets, customizing your mansion, buying more cars, maybe buy even a tank in order to deal with your enemies, buying new weapons. These are the things that you will do. Taking care of your business rackets is not that easy as well because your business rackets often get attacked by other gangs, especially when your gang hit goes higher and higher. You actually have to set some surveillance system and set some guards for your business rackets, so they will buy you some time to get there and take care of the things. And this way you can actually do the drug dealing easier by taking care of your rackets. So you have to be the Tony Montana himself. Just like I said, this is a drug dealing simulator video game. Exactly, that's the way it should be renamed in my opinion, because in simulators we don't have such a uh, wild storytelling, something that actually will haunt you. Well, the storytelling was really boring, just like a simulator video game. Well, but in terms of simulating the situation, it has done a great job. One honorable mention for this video game is music. Well, you can choose what music to play, and it has different types of music. It has country, it has rock, and for its time, for back in the 80s. And it has some interesting pop songs from the 80s, like Let's Groove Tonight or Whip It. We had Whip It in GTA San Andreas as well. So there are lots of interesting music in this video game. And at the same time, I loved Latin genre of music. The Latin musics are just fascinating. I could actually get the feeling that I am Pablo Escobar himself by listening to this video game and driving my car, my actually really expensive car, and dealing drugs with that. I'm Pablo Escobar listening to Latin music. Music really helps with the experience, and the music will be played in your car and outside your car. This is one not so realistic thing about this video game, but it has made it more fun. When it's fun, then who cares? It's really fun to actually have that Latin music and shooting people. Or and tell you what, it has the original soundtracks of the movie itself. You can actually play Push It to the Limit and beat a Tony Montana himself to success and just kill your enemies with that, drive your car and deal drugs and get richer and richer. Just the way the gameplay of this video game is. And the Tony Montana, of course. This is the whole thing about this video game. I hope you all enjoyed it. Well, subscribe for more reviews on oldies like this. Goodbye, have a good time.